All right, what's up, Facebook, and what's up, Instagram? I thought I'd go live tonight because today I was on my Facebook. A lot of you may not know this, but I actually post all my posts. I'm the one who controls everything. So I type all the long posts by hand and the short posts by hand. Wherever I am, I'm doing all that. It's me. So just so you know. No one's doing that for me. But today I was on my Facebook, on my 1776 Nation page. I had not swapped over to Jonhson Country or my Rattle Trap 1776 Nation, which they all are pretty much, I keep them cohesive together. But I saw on the timeline a country music singer, quote unquote, popped up. And anyways, the picture looked like Brokeback Mountain. If you go look at it, you can't deny it. Looks just like Brokeback Mountain. I will never be caught nowhere remotely close to a guy in an actual photo shoot that will be forever timestamped looking like these two look like. And it just so happens to be someone that everybody likes in the country music world. Again, see what people do, you get mad because it's people you think that are can do no evil, can do no wrong, oh holier than thou. All right, but a lot of quote unquote patriots think that music is an escape. Not when it's mainstream music, because I am here to tell you that if you think that the good Lord allow me to go globally viral to the world and build platforms that have built close to 1 million collective on all of my accounts. If you think that the good Lord allowed me to go globally viral after I had Billboard hits, see, when I had Billboard hits, not many people knew me. Country music fans definitely didn't, because they don't even know there's a system in country music. They know nothing about the companies, the record labels, the publishing companies, the managers, the publicists, not just publishers, but the publicists. They know nothing about this industry. All right, and you get a hall pass for a moment. Country music fans get a moment. You get a hall pass because you don't know that there's an actual system and a process to how a song becomes a hit song. You should think there is somehow. You should think that, wow, there's only X amount of singers out there, but there's a lot of great singer-songwriters everywhere. So how come only a certain ones make it on this level? Well, it's not because they're great. If it was because they were great, then there's a lot of other great artists and songwriters out there. So it's not because they're great. And I know it's bursting a bubble. It is bursting a bubble because it's something that tests your comfort zone. It's something that's going to test your comfort zone. It's not going to feel good when you find out that someone you might like is in a woke system, a DEI system. Country music is not the same. And the ones that they're showing you right now that have cowboy hats on and pearl snaps on and all this, they're playing on you even harder. And you have no control over that. You fans do not have any control over this except for one avenue, and it's what I talk about. So first things first, you got to make applicable of how and where did I come from. I had Billboard hits at the highest level in country music before my #1 best-selling books that outlined the 45-47 by President Donald John Trump, which, again, this is not a political podcast. This one isn't. But I signed my publicity contract February the 18th, 2023, to write this book, and then also part 2 here, which is a little bit bigger, obviously. You can tell the difference. Part 1, part 2. I signed this, though, February the 18th, 2023, at Trump International, at his reserved table. I'm the only person who's been allowed to sit in his chair ever outside of his family. and signed my publicity contract that put me on radio and TV broadcast, mainly mainstream radio, Fox News syndicates, and things of that nature, to talk about what's going on in the world. So these became #1 bestsellers long before this book became a #1 bestseller, which is the first book, podcast, or anything in country music history. I'm the first artist and the first songwriter in country music history to tell how the intricate system works. Now, you don't have to like it, but it don't change the fact of how it works. You can get your little ass butt hurt and run home and cry and whimper, and guess what? The system is still going to be the same. And when I know that you're supporting a trash, woke, DEI system, and it's the same as supporting a bunch of woke, trash, DEI, and also not so good congressmen and women, it's the principle. Then you got to go to the principle. What is the principle? Most of country music fans say music is an escape. And music just, it's everything. And it gets me away from this and that and this and that. And it's universal. No, it's not universal. If music was universal, you'd want to hear how the system works. And that you would hear that, no, it's not about talent. If it were about talent, I could give you all kinds of artists to go listen to who write their own music, who pay their dues and get out on the highway and the road, and they have great music. I could show you talent for talent that is not signed to a major record deal. Then I can flip around and show you, if you will simply take your lazy, complacent rear ends over to Google and type in these artists, these signed artists, go to their discography on Wikipedia, click on discography, go down and click on every album. Look at every album's track listing. You're going to see 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 songwriters on every song, and 99.9% of those artists, guess what, are not writers on their own music. But even when they are as a co-writer, I can sit here and show you that every single songwriter that they're in the room with are hit songwriters, and they've been hit songwriters for years. Therefore, it should stand to reason that it is very, very low percentile that that artist that signed to a major deal is pulling the lines in that song with those seasoned songwriters. So I can say what I'm saying because why? One of my Billboard hits I didn't write, but guess who did? A hit songwriter and a hit producer. 2 hit songwriters for that matter. Mega hit songwriters. My other Billboard, I wrote. So I have Billboard hits with me as a writer and not with me. I also have Texas country radio hits as a songwriter. So when you come against me, or I comment on something and it lights a fire under your rear end and you don't like it, guess what? I'm laughing all the way. Laughing hysterically. Because no matter how much you don't like it, hate it, want to trash and try to trash, you're going against the principle of saying that music is universal. 1, I'm a retired veteran, so there's that. 2, I would be classified as an underdog because I'm not a signed recording artist. I don't have a record deal, so I'll be classified as an underdog. So I'm a retired veteran, underdog, who writes all of my own music, and I beat the Billboard system really, really bad. The intricate system that you fans don't know anything about. So how would you want to be against somebody who can beat the big bad dog system? That should make you a hypocrite. So we're going to talk a little bit about the system. 1, for right now, pretty much predominantly all the system as we speak right now is a tiny society. First off, it's always been a tiny society. They're a secret society. All right. They're mostly woke and DEI. All right. You're not going to know that because you don't know that. It's a tiny, 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 lot of brown nosing and a lot of other things. And it's probably going to help if you're a child of somebody, right? Or you were, a daughter or a son of one of their friends from a sorority or something of that nature. It's a very, very old school, good old boy system from the sense of brown nosing and scratching backs, but it's not the good old boy system when it comes to talent and raw talent, real talent, and signing quality people. It's a tiny society. All right. George Strait, Alan Jackson sang a song about 26 years ago, somewhere in that nature, called Murder on Music Row. Well, a lot of fans at that time thought that song had things to do with the steel guitar and the fiddles that the song talked about. That the steel guitars no longer cry and the fiddles barely play, with drums and rock and roll guitars mixed all up in your face. Now, I know the writers on that song. All right, country, older gentlemen. All right, the song had more implications than just music. The song was talking about murder on Music Row. Well, a lot of you don't even know what Music Row is. Music Row was the iconic one way down one way and a one way the other way, and buildings on it. They looked like houses. They weren't big skyscrapers or anything like that. And that's where majority of your songwriting happened and your recordings took place. It's now pretty much been decimated by Nashville and all of their woke DEI wanting to come in there and build up apartments and complexes and things like that. They've torn down most of your history, which it's gone now. Now, someone like me can drive you down Music Row and say, yep, I used to go in that building there, and I went in that building, and this one, and this used to be this, and used to be that. That used to be George Strait's publishing house. It's all gone. Luckily, George Strait's office is still there, and I can show people where it is, but you got to know where it is. They don't have signs on the front of these buildings. You just got to know, okay, that's that. The cool thing about George Strait's office is the fact that on the back side of it, the parking lot behind the house, it still have Irv Woolsey's name up, which was his manager, who passed not too long back. You can see the name tag, the nameplate on the parking lot. So, see, you got to know people who've been there and done that. And so many of you, one, don't care about history. That's the first problem. And you don't care about what the family of country music used to be about. Then you would understand where my passion comes in, because my grandfather was a pioneer back in the 40s of the whole country music industry. My grandfather was roommates with Hank Williams Sr., all right, years ago, long before Hank even went to Nashville, when they were boarding in Mobile, Alabama, back during the war, before my grandfather could go into the military. Hank couldn't go into the military because he had a spine problem. That's when he moved to Nashville, and the rest is history. So, this goes deeper than what you think. And all these people are playing on they're playing and praying, P-R-E-Y-N, P-R-E-Y-I-N-G. They're preying on you. They're just taking advantage of you, because you'll just hook, line, and sinker take it. They have not one ounce in their bone that they care about country music. Sure, it's going to sound country. Sure, some of it's going to sound country. Sure, some of it's going to sound great, because it's a system. So if you'll look at the principle around it, then you'll understand that the system is woke, DEI, trash. It's not about talent. It's not about authenticity. So that song, Murder on Music Row, was talking about the actual family, the industry, the talent, the authenticity. It wasn't just about the music, because now they're bringing back the twang a little bit, and they're putting all these quote-unquote 20 and 22 and 25-year-old artists out there singing about songs that some 80-year-olds have not experienced. Why are you supporting young people who are singing songs that a lot of them ain't even talking about country music? A lot of them talking about cocaine and all kinds of other things I'm not going to say on here. It's your fault, fans. That portion. It's not your fault when you don't know that there's a system. So you got to be able to take a little chew in here in another kind of manner and not get upset in another kind of manner. But country music fans taking up for a system that you don't even know exists is how you ended up with Washington, D.C. running rampant for 150 years and driving itself into the ground like it did. All simultaneous, though, while D.C. was running itself into the ground, guess what you were doing? You were still paying taxes. You were just taking it. You were laying down and taking it. They create a tax here, create a tax there, and you just laid down and took it because you were a little sissified that you couldn't handle someone like me who can look you in the eyes and tell you how it is. And this is how it works. If you don't like it, then here's how you change it. So that's how that rolls. Now, I'm going to do one more other thing here. Let me put this on my notes. I'm going to put this here. Make sure I say what I want to say in this video. So let's go back up now. So today, I commented on a guy named Cody Jonhson. All right, Cody Jonhson. And they got everybody so fooled. All right, they got a guy who's trying to just, all he's doing is walking on George Strait's coattails. All right, the guy was in rodeo or whatever. Big deal. There's a lot of cowboys out there. There's a lot of guys who've been on the rodeo circuit. There's a lot of guys who have rodeoed in their own hometown and not on the actual pro circuit. There's all kinds of cowboys and cowgirls out there. All right, just because you didn't ride on the circuit or things like that don't mean you ain't a cowboy, don't mean you ain't no cowgirl. And there's a lot of different kind of cowboys. All right? So you fans out there, you wanna act like a piranha because you like somebody. You don't even know these people. You're taking up for people you don't even know. Now you can say you don't know me, that's fine, but I'm more accessible than they are. The only time you're going to quote-unquote meet them or them give you the time of day is through a meet and greet. And it's because they have to do that. Because that's part of their system. So I commented today on a post. The image looks like Brokeback Mountain. It looks gay. All right? Straight up. Two dudes. Got their heads down. They're a little too close to each other. There's a whole lot of other ways to make this photo shoot than that. Now, my comment wasn't necessarily towards the Brokeback Mountain image, even though that's what I said, which did what? It kicked the hornet's nest up because all their little ankle biter lovers naturally saw that. They probably didn't read the little picture image that I put with it. That's my little image that shows my book that shows fans that, hey, you're captured and you're controlled. You're captured and controlled by these people. There's a lot of other great music out there, and there's artists like Wade Hayes and Paul Brandt that's still around, Rich Trevino. All these guys I just mentioned had #1 hits in the 90s. Have you heard of them, country music fans? Probably not. But guess what they had? #1 hits in country music in the 90s. So I can sit here and name some people that you've never heard of that's been on Billboard before that has great music. Some are great songwriters that you've never heard of. Which goes back to what? Is music universal? Is it truly about music? Or is it truly about you taking up for someone that you think you like because you were told to like them? Which one is it? Because if it's about music, then you shouldn't be getting mad that someone like me can show you, one, a system is broke, it's woke, and it also is rigged, when you could be listening to a lot of other great artists and songwriters who have been there, done that. Some haven't, but most of us have. Why would you be mad about that? You're mad and pissed because you can find more great music? Is that what you're mad about? So you're mad because someone has Billboard hits and no one's ever exposed it before. I'm the first in country music history to expose how this works, and you're mad about it? Yeah. Now you wonder why DC looked like a run-over rat house. So the comment was on Cody Jonhson and some dude named Brandon Lake. I don't even keep up with these young woke people anymore. All right, don't really care. And if they come at me, then they got to come at a retired veteran with #1 best-selling books and on the presidential level. You got to come at me for that. And I write all my songs. So I don't know what you really think that they can say to me that's going to make me go, oh, gosh, Cody Jonhson told me to go F off today. If he ever saw it. Because all I got to do to Cody is say, hey, hot shot, how about this? How about you write your next album, whole album solo, and I'll write mine, which I've already been doing, and then we'll test it out on my bass and your bass. And we'll see what they say. Now, naturally, you're going to have people who are biased because that's what the people who are mad, that's what they're mad about because they're biased. Everybody's going to take up. But if someone had any integrity about them and any principles about them, then they would go, okay, the principle is music. Also, it was a challenge. All right, so Derek Jonhson solo wrote this, and he wrote this. And then you find a neutral ground and say, okay, on a neutral basis. Pretty easy. Because I can tell you right now, I've written with 20 plus #1 hit songwriters. Me, myself, and I. I have also written, I don't know how many of my songs solo. I don't know how many. I still have some that haven't even come out yet. We're still mixing and mastering, etc. So, and then all of the musicians on my albums, every single musician in every slot have all been on multiple #1 hits. So my production, my vocal producer that does all my vocalization, #1 hit songwriter and a hit producer, and has been on TV shows. Every aspect of my music replicates what you have to have as an artist if you're a young singer-songwriter listening. Everything that I have replicates because I've been there, done that. I've already been on the biggest Billboard chart in country music history. There's nothing past Billboard. Nothing. The only thing that would accompany Billboard after that would be a Grammy or a CMA or an ACM. But both of those are all what? An insider system. They all congratulate each other. So that's even more how you're captured in control. You're sitting there watching and clapping and giving the ratings on a TV show to a system that is captured and controlled, and they give each other awards within each other's system. You're not doing any of that. I don't care what they say. Oh, the fans award. No, you ain't doing nothing if you'll listen. The songs are hits long before you even download them. So 5 years ago, which roughly it's been actually 6 years ago, working on 7. Actually, it has been 7 years ago. If we go ahead and just pretend we're in January 2026, it's been 7 years since I launched my first Billboard. And back then, no one, my pages weren't around 900, 500,000 to a million, whatever it is. It's somewhere up there on all my social media accounts. I don't know what the exact number is, but 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years, this is what we heard. All right, 12,000 followers on Facebook, on my Facebook music page. Then I had 5,000 on my personal page. So this is the general comments that we heard out there. We did some marketing campaigns where we would email and also message from my official accounts and also emails. And this is what we would hear. We would hear, "I've never heard of you before." "Oh, your music is garbage. You're just not good enough. You're jealous because you're not signed." And I'm like, you people are so ignorant. You don't even read and listen. Now, I'm not the only independent artist that's been on the Billboard chart. I'm not. There's been a few others. And some don't even realize how big it is that they were on the Billboard chart. Some of them don't even post it or have it on their bios, which is crazy to me. Because it's such an honor, first off, to be on the old Billboard that's been the hit chart all these years, first off. All right. And then second, it is just that. It's the Billboard. It's everything that has been the system all these years. So it was alarming in a good kind of way to see and be the recipient of all of these captured and controlled fans. Because at the end of the day, again, if you're mad, bitter, angry, and upset over music, over a country music artist that's independent, a retired veteran, a disabled veteran, who beat the Billboard system independently badly, and you're mad, angry, and bitter for me showing you how this thing works, which can help younger artists not fall into traps and not fall into the DEI and the woke, because you're not hearing about all those who played the lottery. This is kind of like the lottery. You see the ones who won the lottery. You're not looking at all the ones who played the lottery and lost. You're not looking at all of what they did and what they sold themselves to. Some of them in poverty. Some of them are in so much debt. I know a person who was in $400,000 debt. They didn't know when to quit. Now, you can naturally say that's crazy and all that. Sure, you can say that because you're on the flip side. But when you have stars in your eyes and fame in your eyes and fortune in your eyes, those same bullheaded people. That's why there's thousands of young artists that think they're singers and songwriters in Nashville. They're just spinning their wheels, spinning their wheels. They don't even know that you don't even need a record deal to have a hit song. That's where I come in. And if they have half of a percentage of a chance, they'd have a better chance of going the route that I did than getting a record deal. The odds of you getting a major record deal would be like going to Mississippi, Florida, and Texas and playing the lottery on the same day and hitting all of those on the same day. That's your odds of getting a record deal. So if you think, and if you're still out there saying stuff like, "Oh, you're trash and you're jealous," and you're belt buckle babies, number ones. All right, number one best-selling books. Books last longer than songs, especially today's country music. You're not going to remember songs today like you remember Oceanfront Property and When You Say Nothing at All, and those songs that have huge lyrics, double, triple, quadruple meanings in the songs. Today's country music is watered down water. So, again, you're so used to quantity and you're so used to this, and this, and the drama and the reality TV. What's amazing about it is that a lot of you love drama and reality TV. You should be loving this because this is drama for you. Because I'm calling out every single artist that doesn't write any of their music. And the ones that have, they don't look back and try to bring up one of their friends that was a songwriter that they used to rough it with way back here, they never do that. They start cutting the farm, the published hit songwriters. That's why the discographies are so important. So again, why are you so mad that a nobody, you call me a nobody, right? But I'm not a nobody. All right, may not be somebody to you, but I'm not a nobody. I can go ahead and tell you right now. So why are you so mad that a quote-unquote nobody beat the country music system and is telling you that it's rigged, dirty, and political? Why would you want to support dirty, rigged politics? And why would you even want your friend, your family, your daughter, your son to go into an arena like that? See, this is why it's important. It may not be you, and you may not have a friend or a family member or a child that ever wants to be a singer-songwriter. But there's a lot more who do. So why would you not want to know? So let me show you this. A lot of these fans that got mad today, got their little butt hurt, all right, over a simple comment and a factual comment on top of it. They just don't know it yet. But a lot of those fans, because I commented on a quote-unquote Cowboys page, all right, a lot of those fans don't like Beyonce. Now, I'm not here taking up for Beyonce. Let's just go ahead and get that straight out the gate, all right? I actually would love to be able to pronounce her name the way my dad says it. It's actually quite humorous, and I can't even say it because he has his own unique way of saying it. And it's pretty freaking hilarious. So I'm not here taking up for Beyonce. But I'm making a point. A lot of the Cody Jonhson, Zach Top fans and all them, they can't stand Beyonce. All right. Well, that's because you don't know there's a system. You don't know country music has a system and a process to that system. It's a structure. And the structure's been the same since 2012 when it changed very significantly. And then the system before that was 1990. So for all those people who quote-unquote hate's a strong word first off, but let's just use it because they claim they hate her music. They claim that she's not country and she don't have a place in country music. Well, guess what? If they truly felt that way, well, if they would study what I'm showing you and what I have, the first artist and songwriter in country music history to unveil it, Beyonce is the same exact system as Cody Jonhson. The same exact system as Zach Top. It's the same intricate, tiny process society. Same system, same process. So if you're mad at Beyonce, you should be mad at those. Because it's all rigged. It has nothing to do with talent whatsoever. It's all money. Money, 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 money. Now you're going to have the ignorant people out there say, oh, well, it takes money to make money. No, not like this. Not like this. So if the principle is music, and if music is universal, then shouldn't you want to know that there's other great music out there for your playlist? Because we're in a world of playlists now. All right, we're not where the CD used to be and the cassette tapes in my era, cassettes and CDs. Now you can have 10, 15,000 songs on one playlist on a streaming platform. Which, by the way, songwriting, streaming, decimal point 0.0033 cents per stream. That's what a songwriter makes. You want to talk about broke? Woo! So the labels are being exposed. That's why they have put so much music down your throat so fast. That's why you got Morgan Wallen putting out 37 songs on one quote-unquote album. It's just song. Why would you want that? Why would you want that? It's not quality-based. It's quantity-based. But they know they're being exposed. There's a reason why Kid Rock and Jason Aldean has been seen with President Trump. There's a reason why Kid Rock has been seen with President Trump signing executive orders. There's a reason. There's a reason why President Trump signed the Orrin Hatch bill some years back. Matter of fact, it was like 2017. Orrin Hatch was a musician himself. And I know the songwriters. Matter of fact, I recorded one of the songs on my first album by a hit songwriter, a major hit songwriter in Nashville, who went back and forth to D.C. to make sure this was signed for all songwriters. And all songwriters don't even have a clue where they were about to be railroaded and robbed even more if it weren't for this attention to detail. And how can we make this a law, and how can we get this in the awareness of certain people to appreciate it? So let's get one more thing straight. Two things. One, I have #1 best-selling books. All right, if that sounds braggadocious, then fine. Let it be, baby. Because when you use terms like jealous and, oh, you're not good enough and that, I have #1 best-selling books. The books last longer than today's country music, today's songs, because it's song. There's no quality lyrics. It's all based on the little rap beat that they put in there. It's a rap beat and or it's what they call a loop. I call it in the book here doo-doo on a loop, because it's nothing but trash and doo-doo on a loop. And how you fans cannot hear that is beyond me, but it's because you're trapped, you're captured, and you're controlled. So you just think that anything, you're just willing to lay down and take it. You just lay down and take it. If you don't like that, sounds a little risque and grotesque for you, then, well, you shouldn't look like it, because that's what you're doing. You're just laying down and taking it. And you have the ultimate control. You do have the control. You don't have to support what they're giving you. 2, I have Billboard hits. The top chart in country music is Billboard Country Airplay. I have hits on that. I don't need 60 #1 hits like George Strait. I don't need X amount of top 10s, top 20s, top 30s, top 40s. All I needed was one. All I needed was one. One exposed and told the whole system how it works to me. And it took literally about 30 seconds for one Billboard guy with multiple #1 hits to explain how it worked. It literally took 30 seconds. So you can cuss me, be mad at me, ridicule, mock, all these other things. That's fine. But you don't know what I know. And you can if you'll just listen to this podcast. And it doesn't change a thing. What you think about me doesn't change a thing. It's still there. The system's still there. And it's still woke. It's still DEI. It's still trash. And it's still rigged. There's 2 ways to have a hit song in country music. 2. One is what you think you know, but on surface, very broad what you know. It's a major record label. The other way, 99.9% of singers and songwriters who live in Nashville currently right now that are pursuing a quote-unquote record deal, and I want a hit song, and I want to be a signed artist, and I want a tour bus and tour it, blah, 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 blah. 99.9% of singer-songwriters have no idea that there's a second way to have a Billboard hit and bypass the major record labels. That's what I did. All right, so let's talk about the major record labels really quick. Major record labels are basically like a bank, if you will. They have a whopping bit of capital, money, capital, all right, which would be in their costs for launching an artist, marketing, advertisements, etc. And then they have promotion teams down the hall. A lot of the major, bigger labels also have their own staff songwriters down the hall. All right. The promotion teams. This is where it's very key, though. Promotion teams. Now, a lot of you out there, you'll say, oh, I don't listen to radio anymore. Why does radio matter? Well, because that's the system they use, hotshot. And if you would listen long enough, you would see how you're captured and controlled. I've heard people say before, oh, I knew that song was going to be a hit the first time I heard it. You know why it was going to be a hit the first time you heard it? Because it already went through the process. It already went through the hit songwriters who wrote it, the hit songwriters who took it to their publisher, turned it in, as the saying is, the publisher who took it to the producer and or the artist and or the label and or all three. Boom. Then the label takes it to their promotion teams. Their promotion teams call these people called program directors. Program directors are on the radio side of things. They answer everything via Sony, Atlantic, Broken Bow, Big Machine Records, RCA, MCA, Capitol. And there's a couple more now. But they answer all those straight out the gate. They've been answering those phone calls for years. They don't question Sony. They don't question Atlantic. They don't question Capitol. They don't question Universal. They don't question Broken Bow. They don't question Big Machine. That's your good old boy, but that's the DEI woke trash system. Because now most of those program directors at radio, guess what they are? They're young. They're woke. They love the Beyoncés. They love the Jelly Rolls. They love the, what's his face? I can't even think of Nas, whatever, Little Nas. They love all this. Rappers and all this other stuff. It ain't country music, people. But you lay down and take it because you don't know the system and you don't know your own authority and power, of which I show you. And you're not willing to sacrifice a little while to drain that swamp and to stick it to them because you don't know how to, because you won't listen. You can most certainly drain this swamp of theirs if you'll listen. This is also why I tell young singer-songwriters, but especially singers in Nashville. A lot of these young singer-songwriters, they'll go down. It's a specific week that country radio comes to town. And it's all of your program directors. And these young singer-songwriters will go down to, it's called CRS, Country Radio Seminar. They'll go down there, and they'll try to meet all these people. And the females are dressing like you-know-whats, which obviously they think that's going to be their advantage, which it is an advantage because a lot of the program directors are males. So there you go. But you're wasting your time. If you're a singer-songwriter and you're going to country radio seminar, if you don't have a record deal and or an investor that knows how to go to a boutique, which I'm about to talk about, of how you can have a hit song around the labels, you're wasting your time. You're actually clogging up the time that a young singer-songwriter that does have an investor that is going to be going up the Billboard chart, you're clogging up that space when you have no business being there. Until you have that and great songs and a great album that's been signed off by hit songwriters that may be independent now, or hit artists that may be independent, and they're working with you, and they're going, this is a quality album with quality songs that radio will play, you're wasting your time. And you're wasting money. And you're clogging it up for others, which is an injustice for them as well, when you have no business being down there. So, boutique labels. This is the portion that most people, singer-songwriters, have no idea exists. Now, Every single one of these boutique labels are insiders that used to be former major record label executives. Like my team. Now, you're not going to Google them. If you don't, you're not going to be able to go to Google and type in, oh, boutique label and inside. You're not going to be able to do that. You know why? Because they are insiders for a reason. My team found out that I had a #1 hit producer and a #1 hit songwriter who produced my first EP, 6 songs, which produced my first Billboard hit. That's written by 2 hit songwriters, which one of them was my producer, my first producer. So the guy that I commented on today, the Cody Jonhson page, all right, and the people who got mad on there, some of Cody Johnson's songs were written by a guy named Win Varble and Phil O'Donnell. Well, guess who produced my first album? Phil O'Donnell. Guess who wrote Real Cool Kinda Hot, my first Billboard? Phil O'Donnell and Win Varble. So see how dumb you look? See who gets the last laugh, you morons? All right, you don't want to be called a moron? Don't act like one. So see, my first Billboard hit song was written by 2 guys that have what we call cuts, meaning songs recorded by an artist, have cuts by Cody Jonhson. Oh, the white boy Grinch who stole Christmas. This is why this is so much fun. It's because when you have facts and truth, you can't argue with it. I'm the first country music artist and songwriter in country music history to unveil how this works, to help independent artists, to help independent songwriters, to not fall into traps and the lies that they spew to you in Nashville. Don't move to Nashville. You don't need Nashville. You know where I was when I signed my deal, if you will, with this team? I was in Nacogdoches, Texas. And then I was in Fort Collins, Colorado for most of it. You don't need to be in Nashville. You don't have to be in Nashville. So they're former major record label executives. Now my team just so happens, you saw me, if you've been following my page, I just put a post up about how woke Zach Brown's gone. Zach Brown looks like a doggone freaking, looks like a fairy. I don't know what the heck he was wearing on the stage. Whatever. I mean, I personally never been around him. All right. But what's funny is the team that launched Zach Brown, his first 10 #1 hits to radio, guess whose team that was? My team. Before me. Zach Brown, Low Cash, Craig Campbell, Chris Jansen, Kid Rock, Sheryl Crow. I can keep going because that was when they were out of the major record labels. When they were with the major record labels, Montgomery Gentry, Randy Rogers, Randy Houser. I can keep going here. We can do this all day long. So, I mean, now the way you're going to prove it all, you're not going to go to Google and type in Derek Jonhson Billboard because it's a secret society. It's a secret system. Billboard even clamped down on how they displayed the chart because so many people were trying to railroad their industry. Not me, but out there. Spotify has railroaded country music a lot. All right. The labels, they've had to scramble, do all kinds of, try to cut deals with all these people. You're not going to Google me. The way you're going to do it is you're going to go over to Sammy Kershaw's page. Sammy Kershaw, who was an artist in the 90s. He's the oldest artist to chart a hit song, which publications did not post about, which is an atrocity. Because even the ones that claim to be country music publications, I can list them for days. They don't know how country music works. They're not insiders to the industry. They're external who just basically Google what they can, and that's it. Some get interviews with the artists, but the artists aren't telling them how it works. So I can show you another thing. Well, you go to Sammy Kershaw, and you'll scroll down. You have to scroll down. It's a good ways. It's over in the 2020, and he posts the chart on his page. If you don't know who Sammy Kershaw is, well, that's a good indicator that you don't know jack doo-doo about country music, and you're not really a country music fan. Sammy Kershaw's had hits. She's the Queen of My Double-Wide Trailer. He had My Little Baby Loves Me Cadillac Style. He's had quite a few hits. All right, so you can go to Sammy Kershaw. He posted the chart, and right above his name, literally, guess who you'll see? Voila, me. All right, and he goes, it may not be high, but I've got a bullet, and I'm on the billboard. Bingo! Timestamps don't lie. I also have that screen recorded and posted on my pages. Again, time signatures and timestamps don't lie. All right, and then also, you're not going to be able to find these anywhere on the internet. This is a gift that I received from my billboard team when we had our hits. All right, these are Letterman jackets, obviously. These are, so my billboard team, one of them, his father was the sole founder, not co and not multiple founders. He's the sole founder of the old TNN network in Nashville. There you go. All right. And then he's the sole founder of CMT. Now, you're not going to be able to Google that. All right. That stuff you're not going to be able to Google. All right. But, and I won't say his name just for sake of, because, again, but you're not going to find these anywhere. There's a big old Letterman. All right. And on the front as well. So you'll see it's a full leather jacket. You're not going to find this anywhere. These are gifts. The other thing is this bad boy right here. Now, this is who I use as my publishing rights organization. So I dare you songwriters out there, call up BMI and ask them about this. Say, hey, I saw a guy on a podcast, and he claimed he had Billboard hits and da-da-da-da-da-da, all the other negative stuff you could say that I could just picture you saying. Call up BMI and ask them about this. Say, hey, I heard about this Letterman jacket that that members get. And you give them the members for X amount of da-da-da. What do I have to do? They're going to be like, what are you talking about? We don't have a Letterman jacket. There's no such thing. We don't have that. Bingo. Doesn't have anything on the front here. BMI. Now, naturally, you could say, oh, you had that made and blah, 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 of course. And if you were a male in front of me, I'd probably punch you. But, you know, I'm trying to be Jesus-like, as the saying is, but pretty sure that I would turn your other cheek versus me turning mine. But you just don't do this, all right? This was a gift that was special to me when I had my second Billboard hit because I wrote my Billboard hit, all right? And they knew we didn't have the money to compete at that level that you have to compete as a boutique, which we're about to get to, if you have any, integrity out there. Again, you'll listen. So these are gifts that I don't wear. Obviously, most of them are too big. I wear the BMI one when I'm in Nashville occasionally, and number one hit songwriters. Dude, where'd you get this jacket? And I'm like, they only give these to hit songwriters. Ha, get it? Okay. So, most people don't have a clue there's a way to go around major record labels. Singer-songwriters don't. So that's what I did. Now, I'm going to refrain from certain kind of language just because, one, I have a mother who listens, and I try to respect her as much as possible. I do slip up occasionally, but I'm not going to say this. but I'm going to reference it because it's very important to understand why Kid Rock has been seen with President Trump so much, and also Jason Aldean and George Strait, the Kennedy Center, etc. All right. Kid Rock and Bruce Springsteen got in a squabble one time. And Bruce was bragging about his hits and records sold and album sales and hit songs. And Kid said, well, yeah, you can one-up me that way, but I am not part of your system. Now, he didn't say certain verbiage that I say, and there's some integrity in that. Let's just be honest. There's some integrity when George Strait and Alan Jackson and some of these older artists like Ricky Van Shelton, who could have really blown a whistle on the industry, but a lot of them don't and didn't because of one reason. They don't want to look like they are biting the hand that feeds them. Because what you, the fans, could actually do is go, well, you guys knew this the whole time, and you still play the system. You benefited from the system. You have big, fancy homes, big, fancy cars, and a flush lifestyle. So you still benefited from it, and you didn't tell us, the fans. So there's some integrity there why George Strait, Alan Jackson, and some of these people would not tell you the system from their mouth. It looks better coming from someone like me who is in the middle ground. No, I'm not someone who's never had a hit song, but I'm also not someone who's had a top 5, top 10, top 20, top 30 on Billboard. I've had top 30s on Texas Regional, which is still pretty decent as a songwriter. But I've never had the big one. But if I would have the big one, guess what would happen? All these people would come rushing to me, right? The labels, et cetera, which there's no way to tell what I would have done because I didn't do it. Now, I know what I'd have done. I'd have been doing this right here. We'd have been right here, same place, everything. And I'm going, I'm not signing a record deal. This is how it works. And I would have way more leverage because if I had a top 10, you, the fan, would know it. Because they publish those. They publish the top 20 and 30 to a broader audience. And there's a unique system. When you get into top 30 on Billboard Country Airplay, then you hit more bigger, clear channels out there. You get in what they call a top 30 countdown. And yes, you would know about me. So I would be in more ears, more eyes, and more playlists, and I would be able to say what I'm saying. And then it would really create a hornet's nest in Nashville. But what they would do is create some kind of, woke campaign like they do, where they try to smear certain people with their drama, propaganda, and what they call publicity. So, there you go. So Kid Rock and Bruce got in it. If you go to Kid Rock's page to this day, his website, he's got this up, posted. Why does he have this posted of all things? Think about it. And then tie in why he's been with President Trump a lot. Then they sign an executive order for price gouging on fans. So think about this. Now, this argument was so humorous, and it proves everything if you'll listen. Kid Rock said one thing specifically, and I'm going to bleep it out. I'm not going to say it. He said, yeah. He said, I could have taken all summer long from a number 2 to a number 1 if I wanted. But I didn't want to suck the you-know-what and kiss the you-know-what of a certain program director out there. Oh. There it is. Program directors. They are the sole control of when the songs and where they go up the chart. Now, they are very tight with the major record labels, those program directors. Very tight and cohesive. They're all on the same page, if you will, most of them. And they all play the game. The program director. And Kid Rock told Bruce, I wasn't going to suck the you-know-what or kiss the you-know-what of a program director. Did you hear me earlier on the podcast? Did you listen to what I said? Whose team took Kid Rock and Sheryl Crow up the chart? The Billboard chart. My team. All summer long, my team. So see, it all validates itself if people will listen. But then the portion that if someone's out there going, what do we do? What can we do to change it? Well, that's where you got to listen in the end when I talk about it. So what I did, and let me show you how I broke the system or beat the system. I didn't break it, but here's how I beat the system. And I'm going to tell you for the first time ever right here. All right? I'm going to tell you the intricacy. I've never said it on a podcast before. I'm going to say it tonight. So there you go. All right. So in 2020, I had a Billboard hit. All right. I had been in record label meetings, major record label meetings. I had major record label meetings with Sony. I had label meetings with Universal. I had conversations with Warner Brothers. And then I had conversations and a meeting with a subsidiary up under like an umbrella of Sony. Now, all those are major record labels. And one of the guys that I worked for many years and still friends with him was one of the former vice presidents of marketing and overall vice presidents of Warner Brothers. And he's like, dude, this is a no-brainer. You're sitting on the Billboard chart and you only spent this amount? Are you serious right now? I've never heard of this. This guy, this particular person is the man who found, signed, and launched back when you actually discovered artists. From 1983 to 2001, he personally found, signed, and discovered Randy Travis, Faith Hill, Travis Tritt, Keith Urban, Jeff Foxworthy, Dwight Yoakam. Still talk to him to this day. Also a veteran. He's like, man, this is a no-brainer. This should be so easy for them just to put a little money behind you, kick you on up to the top 30, top 20, top 10, and then they'll claim a hit on you. You won't, you won't say that you got yourself there. But then he said if they don't, then counter them and say, look, I got myself here to the 40s on Billboard. I got myself here with this. What if I take my next song and I get myself right back here to show you I can do this again? Will you match that and put me in the top 30? Not a single major record label did that. Which, looking back now, thank God they didn't. See, God always has your back. There's a lot of people who use God as a crutch. They use him all the time. They're what a friend of mine calls a Geno, God in name only. They just say God when they need to and when they want to, and they don't really truly have a relationship with their maker, their creator, and their spirituality. But God spared me because I don't want to be a puppet. And I don't want to be in that woke trash system where all they do is, what Kid Rock said, suck each other's you-know-what and kiss each other's you-know-what. That's all they do. It's a dog-eat-dog system. And even when you're in it, it's dog-eat-dog to stay on top. But it's not just dog-eat-dog. It's also what Kid Rock just said. So anytime you think of it, you got to make applicable what Kid said and the dog-eat-dog dirty political arena. And it's all the labels and the program directors and the wheels on the bus go round and round. So way back when, I'm sitting there and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, by principle and by integrity, I have the same musicians on my records. I have written with 20 plus number one hit songwriters, many of which are Hall of Famers. I solo write. I'm a United States retired veteran, disabled veteran, all right? And then I had the same Billboard teams and all the people that I've worked with through the years. I've also worked with hit artists. I've also worked with hit songwriters. I had 11 number one hit songwriters under my belt at one time that I represented. I don't think you want to go toe for toe with me out there, you quote unquote fans, when I stack my resume up there. You don't want to. You should be praising and going, holy crap, this is awesome. You should be excited that someone was a little bitty guy who went in a big, massive system and beat them really bad and did not sign a deal with the devil, as the saying is, and got out of hazard with the records. And I have the integrity and the balls to be the first country music artist and songwriter in country music history to not only put it in a book that's a number one bestseller, but also get on a podcast and tell you. I love Ricky Van Shelton. I love his music. He should have done this. In reality, Ricky Van Shelton should have been the first to do it. Man had many number one hits, but he didn't want to look like the person where he didn't want to look like he was biting the hand that fed him. And there's some integrity in that. So here's what I did. I'm sitting in a major record label meeting in 2020, October 2020, to be specific. Had a Billboard hit currently on the radio in their system, on their chart. All right, major record labels only score their number one hits on the Billboard Country Airplay. There comes that discography again that I'm talking about. When you go over to Cody Jonhson or whoever you're looking up, click on discography. All right, click on singles. Don't click on album, click on singles. When you click on singles, it's going to drop down all their songs that they've sent to radio, their labels. Look at the two columns. One of them's going to be your hot country songs, and the other one's going to say U.S. I think it says U.S. Country or something like that. Forget what the actual label is. There's two of them. Most of the number one hits, Billboard Country Airplay. The downloads will have some number ones on there, but majority, you'll have a number one over here on Airplay. It might be a number 4, number 5, or number 10 on the downloads. That's how you know that the Billboard Country Airplay is their internal system. That's the one you want to beat. Downloads don't matter. They do for an artist out there don't have a record deal, sure. Any artist that gets a download and it goes to even if it just goes to a top 100 or even really a top 200, because there's so many artists out there now. But the higher you go up on the downloads, that's great if you're not a major record label signed artist. If you're a major record label signed artist, you want the number ones on Billboard radio because that's their system. When you go through radio, it's the program directors, and then that's the concerts, the stages, and these big arenas that you pay all these money to go see these people in these arenas. That's the system you're paying into. That's how they make their money. It's not on songwriting. The streaming and downloads, 99 cents a download, and then streaming is decimal point 0033 cents. That's like taking a penny and splitting it 20 ways and giving you a slice. That's pretty pathetic. I mean, that is what you're doing when you're streaming music. So yeah, you get more music, but guess what you're doing? You're not contributing. So I'm sitting here in this major record label. I had to email 10 songs, 10 of my top songs that I had written. So naturally, I went to the well and I pulled out majority of the songs that I'd written with Hall of Fame songwriters, and then a couple that maybe like 3 or 4 that I'd solo written. Matter of fact, they loved one of them that I solo wrote better than they like the others. And it was one that I'd written about a girlfriend that passed away some years ago. All right, and I wrote this. And they ended up loving it more. And here's what I hear. I hear all this in one meeting. I hear, man, we love your music. We love your story, your height, you're tall, you're handsome, you're charming, your personality. You're a retired veteran, you're a disabled veteran. We know your team. We love so-and-so, and we love so-and-so. And, you get more song rights with hit songwriters than our staff writers down the hall. Said all that. Plus, keep in mind, I still have a song at that point, October 2020, on the Billboard as we speak, as I was speaking, and this is what I hear after it. What are your revenues? What are your stream numbers? And what's your social media look like? What is your revenue? What are your stream numbers? And what's your social media look like? When major record labels have promotion teams down the hall, when major record labels have interns down the hall that they're not paying a dime to sit there and run streams up on their artists on multiple computers with multiple tabs open, when major record labels have the conglomerate monopoly on radio, there is no way an independent artist can compete with their conglomerate monopoly. You've heard President Trump talking about monopolies a lot lately. Sometimes they're good, but sometimes they're bad. They're bad when you're blocking others and then you're saying stuff like that. I'm sitting there, I've done everything possible by industry standard to show that I know the business, I know the industry. All you have to do is match what we did on Billboard and keep the song going, and then you're going to claim it, and I'm going to be another artist under your label. Because they can take any artist any day of the week and put them up the chart. They sat there and said, what are your revenues, your streams, and your social media numbers? They had just said that their own artist, a little fat boy named Mitchell Tenpenny, they had just said that we can't even get Mitchell. This is another conversation now. This is how incompetent these people are. Major label executive, but just moments before, in another conversation, they go, man, we can't even get Mitchell to open his phone and make one post to his fans. So you can't even get your own artist that you signed that didn't have a Billboard hit when you signed him. When they signed this dude, he didn't have a hit. He didn't have a fan base. He didn't have anything. See the hypocrisy? It's not about talent. It's not about authenticity. It's not about the music. If it were about that, they would make their artists do the same thing that they're asking me to do, that I already had a song on Billboard. All they had to do was match X amount of dollars. So that's what I have not ever talked about, is how much my team was spent. So I always do this before. I always do this when I was going back to investors. Years ago when I went to investors, this was my pitch that I made to investors. I'm going to show you my pitch. All right, this would be like if you're on an elevator and you had 5 minutes. So when I was going to investors, this is what I would say. I'd say, look, this is how country music works. Here's the charts. Here's how I can prove it. Look at Sammy Kershaw's page. Also, I can take you to meet everybody and anybody that you want to meet. I can take you there. We can go up to the offices, etc. Wherever you want to go, all access passes, baby. I got it. So you can listen to me here or you can listen to me there. But when we get there, if you don't listen to me here, when we get there, then you don't sit here and say, I don't think this is how it works. This is how it works. This is how you beat the major record labels. This is exactly what Zach Top just did. Zach Top and his team spent $750,000 for one song to get in the top 10, which it went obviously number one. $750,000 to go from a boutique team to the program directors and pay off the program directors. Whew. But I already knew that, because that's the average standard, that if you're a singer-songwriter and you know one of these teams, go on and get you an investor, get you $800,000 just to be safe, because you're going to need a radio tour, and it's going to cost about $50,000. A good radio tour is going to cost you about $50,000, because you got to stay in 5-star resorts, because you're going to have to take somebody with you. All right, and then you're going to have to take the program directors out to 5-star meals and wine and dine them, which would be the sucking the you-know-what and brown-nosing the you-know-what in other manners, and you might actually have to do that as well with some of these people. All right, because Kid Rock, that's what he's alluding to. All right, he's not just alluding to virtually. So let your mind wander. All right, and Lord be with me, all the other things that all the Christians do, and the other kind of Christians, and the little hand symbols, yada, yada, and sorry, Mom. But I just got to paint that picture. So there's that. So Zach Top and his team, $750,000, boom, it paid off. Now everybody's talking about Zach Top, Zach Top, Zach Top, Zach Top. If you're a singer-songwriter, again, I double down. All you need is $750,000. I go ahead and get $800,000. Get a boutique. Make sure they're a top team. There's only a few of them. And then you're going to have a hit song. Real simple. Now, here's what I did that was different. And I have double-checked this, quadruple-checked this with all kinds of industry people. This was 4 or 5 years ago when I double-checked all this. But just to see, I'm like, is this heard of? Because I'm pretty sure this is an insider industry record. It's not something that you can Google. It's not something they give an award to. It's what they call an insider industry record. All right? By all standards of everyone I've talked to that knows how this works, the process to have a hit song. I've never told this before. This is what is the egg on the face of these people, these incompetent people. When you stack up everything on my albums, again, same musicians in every slot, same producers, written with all the hit songwriters, the same intricate teams that every other signed artist has. The only thing I don't have is a major record deal. I have everything else. So here's what we did. My guys that not only have extensive records themselves with major record labels as promotion guys and big guys the radio, and their father, one of the fathers, was the founder of those. Here you go, baby. They hate what happened in country music. They cannot stand the woke DEI trash that came in this dog-eat-dog system. But they still had enough people in the program director slots that we were able to get into the 40s on Billboard with $25,000. Hey, Zach Top, you just spent $750,000 to have your number one. I didn't have a number one, so you can brag about that. But I had Billboard 40s with $25,000. Woo! And I'm happy. I am so happy I don't have a record deal, because I have the first book in country music history. I am the first artist and songwriter in country music history. And it's all time-stamped. No one could ever say that they said it first. Been out since early 2024. all the intricacies of the labels, publishers, etc., the do's and the don'ts, and everything. You can name it in here. The etiquette, the protocol, the standard, if it ever came back, which I don't think it will. All right? And then also the records and a few other things that you need to know about. I'm so happy that Riser House asked all these stupid questions that you can't even get your own artist to open up one app. You can't get your own artist to open one app and post one post, and you're asking me to do what your own artist wouldn't do and won't do? Your own artist, these artists, ladies and gentlemen, do not build their platform. They don't build their own social media bases. The labels do it. And you wonder why these artists come out of nowhere. You didn't put them there. They went through the Billboard radio system. They go through the system. Then it comes to you. Even if it's on a streamer. Even if you heard it from a friend at a pool or a bar or whatever. You did not put these artists there. Your downloads do not affect them whatsoever. They're going through the Billboard radio system first, long before it ever gets anywhere else. So let me show you another way to prove it. Mark Chestnut. Mark Chestnut. I love Mark Chestnut songs. But Mark Chestnut didn't write any of his hits in the 90s. All right? So I'm not all the way dogging Mark Chestnut, but Mark Chestnut proves country music is rigged. He's trying to stay relevant and come back in another manner because he's been gone a while. He's getting older. All right, but Mark Chestnut proves the system. Recently, Mark Chestnut put on his page, he specifically said that, Zach Top is exactly what country music needs. Really, Mark? Well, why isn't your boy, your own blood child, Casey Chestnut, why isn't Casey what country music needs? Why has Casey been struggling on the Texas charts? I give Casey, your own son, more publicity in one setting than you do. Why isn't your own blood child son what country music needs? Why aren't you spending $750,000 for your son to have a hit song? Oh, that's why. Because you know it's a rigged system. You know the system is dirty, political. So you want someone else to do it. But they're not doing that. So what? Zach Top sounds country. So what? You know why he sounds country? Guess who's writing his songs? Hit songwriters. Hit songwriters. Nothing has changed. Zach Top is not doing what Derek Jonhson did. He wouldn't be able to do it anyway because he'd be the second to do it. But Zach Top isn't going, hey, I'm not signing a deal. Hey, I'm not going to the CMAs. Hey, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to sell out arenas on my own. You can do that. You probably don't know that, fans. You could call the Birmingham Center. You could call even New Orleans. You can rent them out if you think you can fill them. But you got to pay it in advance. You got to know, okay, I can rent out a 50,000 seat stadium and I'm going to be able to sell it out. They'll take your money. You want anywhere in this country, a arena, a theater, wherever. If you got the money, they got the time, like that old saying, that old song. If you got the money, honey, I got the time. Well, if you got the money, honey, they'll take your money. Or you're going to be able to recoup your money. So see, a lot of fans get caught up in stuff that you don't even realize how that system works. Guess who was a booking agent before I was a representative in Nashville? Me. Guess who I used to book for? Oh, some big artists. Oh, how do I know how booking works? Oh, because I work for a lot. Probably want to check out my resume. Last I checked, it's still up on LinkedIn. Mark Chestnut proves everything. Why isn't his own son? Why isn't he putting money behind his son? Why isn't he backing his son? Why isn't he promoting his own blood son, who's a singer? Another one. Another. This happened some time back. Been a few years ago. Can't remember when, but it's been a few years ago. So, me and my entertainment attorney, we were out at a songwriter venue in Nashville one evening. We were finishing up some paperwork on some things. I already had billboards at the time, and we were sitting there watching a round, what they call a songwriter round, and the particular round that was up was all females. And there was a particular female on the end that when they walked off the stage, all these other people over here on the side were talking to these three females that were in the middle and all the way to the right. Well, it's because they were pretty. They were slim, trim, gorgeous. But the girl that was on the far end, she was a little bit hefty, right? Had a little meat on her bones, as the saying is. A little pleasantly plump, right? Just a little bit, right? All right, so she walks off the stage, wasn't many people talking to her. So my attorney called her over. She liked her. She was like, I love her. And look, she don't have a lot of people talking to her. So she wanted to, hey, here's my card. I'm an entertainment attorney. Da-da-da, if you ever need anything. Boom. Got her number. 3 weeks later, I called my attorney. I said, hey, have you seen the news, the country music news? She's like, no, what happened? I said, the girl that was in the round, that was on the stage that night, that you got her number to, she went viral on TikTok, quote unquote. It just so happened to be some guy who made her go viral. That's all insider stuff. All right, next thing you know, one song, ladies and gentlemen. Go look at all my music. Just look all my music up. Toe for toe, I can walk circles around all these writers. You know why? Because I have musicians in every slot. These musicians will not play on your record unless you have had Billboard hits before, hit songs, and or something going on a bigger level in every slot. You can get one in a studio every now and then, but one in every slot that are all hit musicians, there's that. Also, I've written, again, with 20 plus number one hit songwriters, many Hall of Famers. I can go toe for toe because I've been in the rooms with the hit writers. You don't just get in the room with hit writers. They don't just keep writing with you. They don't do that. They don't just do that for anybody. So I can go toe for toe. This artist I'm talking about had one song, one, that went quote unquote viral. It made it to a top 10. And she gets signed to a major record deal for one song on TikTok. I happen to have written a song with the girl who wrote that song. So see how we all connect? So timestamp, that song's recorded. You can go look that song up. It's called God on a Harley. All right. I wrote this song with the girl who wrote that top 10. That girl got a publishing deal off of one song. So the girl who wrote it gets a publishing deal off of one freaking song. And the girl singing it gets a record deal off of one freaking song. And here I am with a full team, full catalog as you call it, Billboard hits, been in the system, know the system, respected it at the time, respected everybody in the system at the time. And guess what the publications were saying and the labels? The intricacy, Music Row Magazine. A lot of you never heard of it either, Music Row Magazine. Guess what the question was? So if you, the fans, listen carefully, if you, the fans, had control via the download chart, then why would the major record label in turn, one, signed this artist with the one-hit song, why wouldn't they just release a new song to the downloads chart if downloads and you, the fans, were what mattered? See, listen to what I'm saying there. The downloads chart is in your control. You get to download that. If I said tomorrow, hey, I have a new song coming out tomorrow, if 5,000 of you will download it at one time, we can probably get into the top 10 on the downloads Billboard Hot Country Songs. More than likely, because there's an algorithm there. And if you would all do that, that's how those songs operate on that chart. That ain't how the radio works, which is what I'm talking about on the discography again. There's two charts that they use. But majority of the number one hits are on the airplay country radio, of which fans claim they don't listen to anymore. Well, why are the labels still using that system? Because that's their conglomerate monopoly. That's where their sponsors are. That's where all the money is, the stages, the sponsors. Those tie in. Your advertising costs, etc. It's a massive conglomerate system. So if you, the fans, were the most important, and you, the fans, had control of who is and who ain't and who stays on top and who doesn't, then why would the label... Here's a prime example of an artist who got signed off a downloads hit, got signed from it. What was the next question? Should we take this song and put it on where? Radio. And what did they do? They put it on radio and it became a what? A massive, bigger hit. The artist was Priscilla Block. All right, now let's go to authenticity. If it were about authenticity, personality, and people who are personable, majority of these artists, they'll get on stage and they go, my mom and daddy fell in love 20 years ago, and they just were this and that, and you can just see the fakeness all over it. These people look like robots who have a little cord behind them that they get went. First off, someone's programming a speech in their back, in their computer, and then they got the little old school pull cord, but modern day because it's robotic. Oh, here we go. Here's the timer. All right, set them on the stage, walk them out there, let them tell their story, and all the fans are going to go, oh, their mom and daddy fell in love 20 years ago. Of course they're going to say this stuff. Of course they're going to tell you a quote-unquote story. Of course. See, you're falling for the wrong things. These people are no authenticity, none whatsoever. And they get up there, there's no authenticity. The only people right now that are authentic are the Red Clay Strays. And I grew up by Brandon Coleman. He don't know it, but because it was years ago. But I grew up literally for about 5 years of my life, our properties matched and met. His dad to this day still lives right where one of my hometown houses is. Now, we're going to see if the Red Clay Strays, we're going to see if Brandon can stay true to his roots, because he's already in with the CMAs. He's already in with the brown nose, the DEI, the woke trash system. And a lot of these artists don't even know that. A lot of these artists don't even know how the system works. Even when they're super famous, known, etc. They don't know the intricacies of the other side. And I really do. That's one, I don't really endorse people or really like to do that, period. But that's one dude that I hope he can stay true. And I hope that he don't sign a deal with the devil. I hope it. But being already at the CMAs and being with all these other woke DEI controlled artists, it's not a good sign. But, you know, is the music still going to sound good to some people? Yes, because it's supposed to. See, people are focusing on the wrong things. The music's supposed to sound good because it's at the highest level. You're just not seeing how you're captured and controlled, and you're not having any control over who you think will be good. If they put out, let's say, 10 or 12, 15, 30 artists, I don't know, 10, let's just go 15 or 30. If a label said, here's 15 to 30 new artists, which ones do you like? and they gave you a playlist. Let's say they gave you a USB cord or gave you a free access to a website, and you went on there and you got to listen to 20, 30, 40 songs, all right, by 10, 15, 20 artists, and you go, ooh, I love this and I love it. You would be in control of that. And if music was universal, then you should love that. You'd be like, man, this is more music. And I may find something that really flows with me, and I can. You don't do that. You did not discover one single artist that you're listening to right now. You didn't discover them. You did not discover them. You were told to like and love them and told to add them to your playlist. So let's go to authenticity. First and foremost, remember, every major record label out there, they can take anybody, any given day, put them on the chart. The things that Riser House was asking me to do, they didn't ask their own artists to do that. Mitchell Tenpenny and all those artists, every artist for every major record label weren't asked to do any of that. Those labels took every one of those artists to radio and built their fan base and pushed their music. None of those artists built their base up to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 million. Because if they did, why would they need the label? Think about that. If they built their bases to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 million, why would they need the label? They wouldn't need the label. So if you'll just reverse these sometimes and do the reverse code, you would see, oh, that makes perfect sense. They wouldn't need a label. They would have their bases, and they would have authentic fans following them and supporting them, because that's how they would have built their platform. These artists don't do that. They capture and control you fans. And then you fans that want to remain in ignorant world, and you want to remain out there in the atrocious world, oh, you're just jealous. And why would I be jealous? I have hits. I have #1 best-selling books. Why would I be jealous? I'm not jealous. I love actually being the one that just stirs your little fanny up. I love just taking your little panties and wadding them up in a bunch and going, you're mad because I'm a nobody to you and I beat a system really bad that's never been done before that bad. I'm the first artist in country music history that beat it that bad. That's an insider record. That 25 grand, you can't do that. That's 2 songs. 2 songs. And Zach Top just spent $750,000 on one. So it's not about authenticity. If it's about authenticity, then they could have always kept country. They could have always kept Pearl Snaps and, old Morgan Wallen looking like he's about to steal your catalytic converter. All right, he looks like he's about to play in Major League 3. Like, Charlie Sheen, sit down, I got this. Put the little lightning bolts in his hair, looking like he's walking around, eating a jar of pickled pig feet, That's what he looks like. But if it was about authenticity, then how is it that all these little country girls that just crow over, oh, God, Morgan Wallen, oh, God, Morgan Wallen. Why, just a few years back, does he look like Martina McBride 2.0? The dude is wearing makeup on a TV show, got his hair looking all bouffant. The dude looks like he's truly... looks like he's transgendered. Now, I know he's not, but the dude looks like Martina McBride 2.0. Looks straight up like a girl. In one photo, he's wearing a man bun and a tank top. Where's the authenticity in that? He goes from Martina McBride 2.0, looks like one of the Hanson brothers, dyed their hair from blonde to brunette, all right? Goes from that to all of a sudden looking like Mr. Redneck Special, like he's going down to the Dollar General and going to have a little conversation with your grandpa about what's under the hood of their Ford F-150 from 1987. How's that authenticity? How's that authentic? Let's just go by the principle. Forget that you love Morgan Wallen and you'll eat right out of his hand, even if he had a pile of bird doo-doo in it, you'd eat it just because. Go with the principle here. Why would you want to support some dude that's looking like that, looking like Surfer Boy USA, and goes to all of a sudden, quote unquote, oh, back to his roots. He's from East Tennessee. That's redneck country. Doesn't matter. Look at the imagery. Look at the perception. Why didn't George Strait do that in his career? Why didn't Alan Jackson do that in his career? Authenticity. If I did that, if I all of a sudden went from Pendleton jacket, classic cowboy ball cap, and, buckle down here, if I all of a sudden went to a tank top and grew a man bun, or let my hair look long, pretty sure some of you would have something to say about that. You'd say, oh, look at there, he couldn't make it that way, so he had to change and do this. I mean, but it's okay because, see, people take up for him because they're what? Quote unquote famous. And guess who just validated all this? Guess who just validated this system? Kirk Cameron. Kirk Cameron left the Hollywood industry. His sister left it. He's been successful independently and happy. Could he have been bigger had he stayed in the Hollywood industry? Oh, yeah. But he knew what the Hollywood industry was about. He knew the dirty, corrupt, secret society, DEI, woke system on a minimum that it is, not the maximum. Now, not everybody in these systems, not everybody are corrupt to the child trafficking levels and things like that. Not everybody's corrupt like that. Just because you've been in the country music system or the industry. I hear people out there doing that. It's not like that. But there are opportunities for certain people. The bigger they get in it, the more money they have, the more they make in it, the bigger they get, sure. They're presented with things like that because they think they're invincible. That's why so many turn woke. What did President Trump say about woke, going woke? You go what? Broke? Well, look at Tim McGraw. Look at all these people. They ain't going broke per se, but look how liberal they are. Look how atrociously liberal they became. Look how they changed their roots. A lot of these were old school guys. But the industry really changed in 2012 when the billboard system became about how many stations you could get on and also how many spins per station you got with your song. That's why a lot of you fans used to say, gosh, I've heard this song 10 times a day. Golly. It's because it gets in your head. Repetition, repetition, repetition. They knew what they were doing. It's not about the song. It's not about authenticity. It's not about talent. The other thing that proves it, songwriting. I call them the farm. Go back to those discographies. Click on track listing. Go to Google, click on any artist, whoever, Cody Jonhson, Luke Combs, etc. Click on discography. Click on the albums. Click on track listing. Now, George Strait was in a whole different system. George Strait was signed in 1981. All right? Alan Jackson, all those groups, the group Alabama, I know a lot of them. Years ago, one of the group members of Alabama, son, roomed with me and another roommate in Nashville. Trust me, I know this system like the back of my eyelids. Alabama, 41 number one hits. They wrote a lot of their hits. A lot of them they didn't. But they wrote a lot of their hits. George Strait, he wrote, I think, a couple of songs on his first album and he quit writing. I also know I knew his first producer and the guy who wrote his first number one hit, Full Hearted Memory. He and I were going to do a tribute album where he and I wrote every song together, and it was going to be 80s and 90s style country. And unfortunately, he passed away. God rest his soul. He passed away a few years ago, more than a few, but he passed away. But his name is Blake Mevis. I'm telling you right now, you fans out there, I have forgotten more country music than you know. My dad tells people all the time, I've forgotten more Alabama football than you could ever know. I have forgotten more of what I've done and who I've worked with and who I've been around in country music than you could ever know. And you should want to care about this. You should want to care about the history of country music and who hijacked it and how they hijacked it and how they play on your emotions and they prey on your emotions and they use you. They use imagery to trick you, deceive you, capture you, control you. Pearl snap shirts and mullets and all this other stuff. Where you prove it is songwriting. Now, George Strait was a different era. The radio system was completely different then. It was a more pure, more authentic, all about talent and all about not just talent as a songwriter, but talent as an artist. And it was more of a good old boy system the good way, with talent and authenticity and personality and artists being personal to you. You can meet a lot more of the artists on the road because they weren't in massive arenas back then. That's when the money got involved. They were in some arenas, there's no doubt. They were in coliseums, but the coliseums held 5, 10, 15,000. So you had a lot more chance of meeting the artist and the artist being personable than you do now. They've made it to where they are invincible. Same thing, if you went to Nashville today and you walked up to a publishing company, if you found out which one was a company and you walked up to it and pushed the Ring doorbell, if you don't have a meeting in there and you don't know someone there, they're going to say, good luck to you. Well, but I saw a sign in your yard and it shows that you got the #1 hit songwriter, the new song from so-and-so. They're going to treat you like a fan, a tourist, and they're going to shut the blinds. This is what they do. Because they know you don't know who they are. They know you fans do not know who the publishers are, and you also don't contact them ever. Therefore, you wouldn't even know that you could actually, it's never been done before, but you could actually blow up their phones and emails and jam their phone lines if you would actually have some integrity about yourself, if you would actually see that you're captured and controlled. These people capture and control you, and they don't care about you one bit. Even the little intern at the desk is taught to shun you if you're at the door of the publishing house. If you just so happen to stumble over it, if you're in Nashville, on Music Row, or anywhere else, they know you don't know them. They have you captured and controlled because you are sitting here taking up for a system you know nothing about and the companies that run them. And you just trust them because, oh, well, music's my escape, and I just love music, and this sounds just so much like so much work, and oh. And that's how you end up with woke trash artists. Because of your piss poor attitudes and your lazy, complacent attitudes. So songwriting. George Strait didn't write any of his hit songs. He started writing in the last 15, 20 years because he's good friends with Dean Dillon, who wrote 38 plus #1 hits. All right. And he wanted to get his son, Bubba, involved as a writer. But other than that, George Strait didn't write any of his big hits. And that's okay because he was in a different part of the system that was a more authentic and personable system. A lot of those artists didn't write their songs. That's when the farm started. I call it the farm. That's my name for it. Those discographies, you'll see on there 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hit songwriters on one song, on every song. Occasionally you'll see a solo writer, but it'll be a hit writer of days of old. Some of them have passed on. Sometimes an artist will go back in the days and find a song. If it takes, though, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 writers on one song, is it really a song, ladies and gentlemen? Because I can put up a list of YouTubes of the songs that I've written solo. They all flow. They all have a story. You can tell it flows. It makes sense. You can tell first off, you can tell a bad song from a song. You can tell a song from a middle song. You can tell a middle song from a good song, and you can tell a good song from a great song. And hit songwriters like myself and others who have way more hits than I do as a songwriter, we can tell even on ourselves. There's songs that I've written that I wouldn't let you hear. I wouldn't let you hear them because I know they're not of that caliber. And it was a song that I had to write to get to another song. And a lot of writers will tell you, sometimes you have to write 1, 2, 3 songs to get to another song. It's just how it is. It's a craft. And we're constantly working on our craft. It's the same thing with book authors. Now, I'm self-published. Another thing I forget to tell. I'm self-published. I wrote these straight off myself. I edited it. I did everything on my own. Every bit of it. All these books. My new book here, which is selling like hotcakes in front of a Weight Watchers event. 573 pages. All right. This book here, the first #1 bestseller. Solo. Publisher. I publish all mine. I edit all mine. I do everything. So, 3 #1 bestsellers, and this one right here is not a #1 bestseller yet, but it's a #1 release, new release. All right, so that's technically it's a 3.5 #1s, however you want to say it. So I mean, I'm a writer. I'm a writer first. I don't ever claim to be a great artist. I'm not a great vocalist, but I have a personality that can deliver my songs. All right, my songs that I pick for myself, that I write a lot solo, and then I co-write. So that's what a true artist and songwriter is about. And that's why anyone saying I'm jealous and all these other things, that's so laughable, first off, because most of these people don't even know that I have #1 books and also Billboard hits and also Texas hits. But what's also laughable about it is for the fact that I can direct you, if they'll listen, to the discographies and go, okay, well, when Cody Jonhson writes his next album solo and not a single hit writer on it, then you can say something to me. But the artists aren't doing that. His biggest hit song is a great song. Till You Can't. It's a great song. You know why it's a great song? Because he didn't write it. Hit writers did. That's why I can talk. All right? And that old saying, to be the man, you got to beat the man. Well, until he has a #1 hit song to a top 60, which is 1 to 60, that's the whole Billboard chart. Until he has a song on the whole Billboard that he wrote, I'm 1 to 0 right now. He didn't write any of his hits. He's only co-written, that I can tell, on 3 songs. And one of them I think he solo wrote. And it wasn't a single. You got people like Luke Combs and Morgan Wallen that shows them as co-writers on some of their hits. But when you look at the songwriters in the room with, and you know, like I know, who those writers are, you know darn well, when you know them and you go look at all the songs they've written, you know dang well that their seasoned craft as a writer is pulling the lines and the melodic structures. Because a lot of you forget about, this is what, when you become a hit artist, when you go in the studio and you record a song that you've never heard, especially if you didn't write, you got to create the vocal structure to that song. You got to own that song and make that song yours. Because when you cover a song like George Strait or Alan Jackson, they've already charted the vocals for you. That's why you'll hear your friends and family, oh, my cousin can song straight. The vocal pattern was already there. It's easy to mimic that. When George Strait was recording, let's say, Oceanfront Property, he made Oceanfront Property his. because you had never heard it before. You don't know that process. But especially when an artist writes their own music and then they go in and put vocals down on it, and that producer says, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make this yours. It is your song, but we got to make it yours vocally as well. It's a whole other ball game when you're with a hit producer. Whole other ball game. So I can sit here and talk trash all day long and back it up because I have the records. I didn't need a #1 hit to have the record. I just needed to beat country music system, and I did that. I have the teams. I have the songwriters. I have the producers. So that's where I one up every single artist out there. It don't matter if they have #1 hits. You know why they have #1 hits? Because they have a major record label that don't ask them to do what they're asking other unsigned artists. All they're doing is taking them straight to radio. Straight in their system. Money backing them. You didn't do a thing. You didn't put them there. You don't keep them there. Your votes don't do a thing. They're already there. They were already there. They signed them. How did they sign them? So again, if you'll listen to my music with an open ear and open ground, meaning you can't be biased. You can't go in there still taking up for all the signed artists. If you're taking up for the signed artists, you're captured and controlled. Because if you go in on a neutral ground, on new ground, and on unbiased turf, and then you apply that all of my albums have the same musicians in every single slot as every single artist that you take up for. My producers, vocal, and then the ones I had before. I produce all my records now, but my first producer, hit songwriter and hit producer. Every song that I do co-write is with a hit songwriter when I do co-write. Majority of my songs right now, I'm solo writing because I'm proving that I can solo write better than any hit songwriter and also artists out there who are quote-unquote co-writing. The only reason a lot of these artists are now quote-unquote co-writing and putting them in the rooms with hit songwriters is because streaming is so piss poor pathetic, 0.0033 cents. Again, that's like taking a penny and splitting it 20 ways and giving you a slice. So if the independent artists out there and the singer-songwriters will listen, stop wasting your money. Don't move to Nashville. You don't have to move to Nashville. You need to look up a former hit songwriter, study the old discographies. That's what I did when I was growing up. I studied who the hit producers were and the hit songwriters and the publishers. That's how I got into country music, was on the publishing side of things. I learned how that system works. And I met the good guys and gals of the creative side. That's what you have to do, singer-songwriters. You have to meet the creative side. You're not going to do it on your own. If you could, more would already have done it, and you can't do that. And you won't do that. It don't work that way. The only way to beat it is the way I've beat it. So you're wasting your money. You might as well go spend your time trying to talk to your rich uncle or your cousin's best friend's daddy's mama's uncle's daddy's cousin who's a rich man and say, hey, this is how it works. Will you back me? And here's what I'll do, blah, blah, blah. I'll give you this 10 years for 15 net profit and da, da, da. But that you're not going to make it any other way. So to beat the system, you got to mimic the system, but you got to one-up the system. Meaning, to beat the system, you want to play in the system, play by the system, You want to get up. If there was, let's just say there was a good record label out there. If there was a good record label or a good publisher, you got to beat what they have going to radio. You don't walk in there with the trash stuff that a lot of these young singers, man, Instagram is full. Your timeline is full. Oh, my Lord, have mercy. Everybody and their mama thinks you're a singer-songwriter today just because they can play a guitar a little bit. No, I got an idea, and I think it'd be a song. To beat the system, listen, to beat the system, not only do you have to mimic it, but you got to one-up it. So the songs that they're taking with their artists to radio, your songs have got to cut through that. They have to hear what they're taking to radio because it's already a rigged system. It's already rigged. That process is already going to happen. So if there was a good label or a good publisher out there, you got to have their base level on a minimum. But it's easier to go to a boutique label. You got to know who they are. I'm not giving those up. Duh. Why would I give those up? That's leverage, baby. That's how I am going to produce artists myself and go, okay, we can beat the system. I know how to do it. I know the teams. I have inclusive and exclusive deals with my teams and who they are, and that's just my leverage. Why would I give that up on here? But you fans, you should want to look up these labels and look up the publishing companies and jam their phone lines and jam their emails and say, we demand better quality people, role models for our children, etc. You people out there who keep supporting Morgan Wallen, you are some very hypocritical people. All right, can people make mistakes? Sure, yeah, but your children are seeing a dude. Forget the slur word. But, well, it wasn't a slur word. It was a racist word, if you want to go there. I'm not one of those people that does the isms and the phobisms and all this, so I don't do that. But, forget that. The dude threw a freaking chair off the top of a 2- or 3-story bar. You know how hard, if that hit somebody, you know how bad that could hurt somebody? That's who you want as a role model? Some dude that looks like white trash. The people that you don't want living in your neighborhood, the ones that you pass by in the country and you're like, you try to when your family visits you, especially if you're from the South and your family visits from somewhere and you always avoid those areas or where these people live. These are the people you're putting on country radio. Some fat dude that all of a sudden loses weight called Jelly Roll. All tatted up. Dude named Post Malone. Because the dude is from Texas, that makes the dude able to wear a cowboy hat all of a sudden and boots and everything. All tatted up and all this stuff. And you're like, I mean, come on, people. There's a huge difference in judging someone, but then calling it country music. So just because the dude's from Texas, he can be a cowboy? So if I go stand in my carport, does that make me a Ford F-150? Come on, people. You claim that you don't like Beyonce? Well, you're judging a black woman just because she's black and she's whatever? She's from Texas. The same principle applies. It's a principle. And they're all in the same system. Rigged, DEI, woke, trash system that captures and controls you. So when you're over here, I don't like Beyonce, on a post, algorithms. And you may be on like so-and-so's page that's a cowboy. But then over here on Beyonce, they're going, this is what we need. We need more diversity in country music. Why has country always been white people and rednecks and hippies and outlaws with guitars? And And the wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round. You're playing the publicity game. You're doing what they want you to do. They're over here sitting back going, ha ha ha, look at all the rednecks. They're over here. They're trashing this page and they're running the algorithms up and they're making it more visible to all the people who do love it. And then they're making fun the other way, going, oh, look at here. Look at all these people over here talking about DEI and diversity and inclusion. And, oh, look at all these people. They're all laughing back here all the way to the bank because they got you captured and controlled. If it were about authenticity, if it were about talent, if it were about music, then you wouldn't care who it is, where it came from. You would be able to listen and go, man, this song sounds the same quality as what I listen to here. So why are you mad that a retired veteran, disabled veteran, why are you mad that I beat a system and I'm telling you about it? Why are you mad, bro? You me talk like you young punks do today? Why are you mad, bro? Oh, I can't even talk like that. Where did traditional country music go? Did you not hear Alan Jackson when he said, hey, why can't we have both? Okay, if we're just going to have, why can't we have both? Why can't we have traditional country guys who are true, authentic, and cowboys, country, grew up, dirt road, farmers, etc., and can prove it? You got to be able to prove it to call yourself that. Why can't we have a system that says, all right, let's see where you grew up, how you grew up, are you really real? Are you a farm boy, cowboy, this, that? Why can't we have that? Why do fans support a bunch of hat acts and a bunch of mouth cowboys and cowgirls? Lainey Wilson is not no dang cowgirl. Not the way they portraying her. I've written with Lainey Wilson a long time ago. You don't have authenticity. You are bought, you are captured, and you're controlled. And I will laugh all the way to the bedroom. I will laugh all the way to my deer stand tomorrow when I'm sitting on my deer stand retired while you country music fans go to work and you go support all the DEI woke trash. I'm going to sit on my deer stand tomorrow, 42 years old, retired, while you're at work. See, and people who know me know I'm not pretentious. They know I'm not cocky. They know I'm not braggadocious. They know I'm not those things. But because you choose to support and take up and defend a bunch of woke, trash, DEI, fake, phony, not personal, not authentic people, I'm going to say that. Because I do have the records. I do have the proof, if you will. The proof's in the pudding, as the saying is. And it's forever time-stamped. Time signature. No other artist will ever be able to say. None. So when the truth is out, and the same thing with these books about what makes them special, as they're already being validated to Pluto and back, those are going to validate this. And then when they're all completely 100% validated, then you're going to ask yourself, why didn't more artists, songwriters, military, etc. stand up for principles and integrity? Authenticity, personality, talent via integrity of why you think you love music. Because again, as I close, if it were about music, and music would be your escape, and music would be universal, then you should want to support the little bitty guy who didn't have a record deal, who didn't have a lot of money. I beat the system with peanuts compared to millions. And I went in there. I beat the system, and I didn't sign a deal with the devil. I didn't lose my soul at any capacity, whether it be the hard stuff or just brown-nosing the heck out of all these people and sucking the you-know-what of all these people. I didn't do that. And I'm here today, and I still can write quality, great country music that speaks to you. It talks about your life. It talks about real life, real country living, things that matter, wholesome things. And I still have every musician on my record and producers on my record that all of the big major signed artists do. So, as I'd like to say, this is where you can put up or shut up, as the saying is. If you're about integrity, then you should want to have more artists, songwriters like me, leading the way and giving you great quality music about your life. If it's truly about country music. Country is more than a song. It's more than a t-shirt. It's more than a ball cap. It's more than just taking a wrong turn on the dirt road one day when you were driving and you take a wrong turn, and it ends up being a dirt road and you come out on the other side. Well, I think I'm a country music singer now. I think I'll move to Nashville and write a song. It's more than that. So again, the choice is yours, fans. You have the choice. You have the authority and the power. You need to look up these labels. You need to call them and flood their lines. You need to look up the publishing companies. Whenever I post all of them, call them, flood their lines. You need to ban and boycott. You need to boycott these concerts. Stop doing these concerts. It will take just a little bit of sacrifice on your part, just a little, to send the message to them. Because when you're not buying those tickets, all of a sudden, they're going to get the message. Because I'm telling you, they know this is out. I've already gotten text messages and everything about it. I've got a lot of people backing me on this. A lot of people. In the industry. Big hit songwriters. It needed to be said. Just like everyone said, it needed to be said. It's got to be said. The integrity has to be said. And it needed to be someone like me, again, who didn't have massive hits, but also is not sitting here with no hits. I have the hits that can be proven. Again, go to Sammy Kershaw's page, scroll down, you'll find it. I'll post it again. I'll post a video, etc., where it is on the page, and you'll be able to see it. It's timestamped forever. All right? Can't argue with timestamps. This is how country music works. And you have the power and the authority to shut it down. And then revamp it. We can get better quality people in these positions that sign based on talent and authenticity, because the system's still there. The system's there. The system, the process, it still can be great, because if you're putting authenticity through it and you're putting personal people through it and you're putting real talent through it, then it's still coming to you. But then that has to be also flipped to where you have the control. You have that. You should be able to go, I don't want to, why am I giving this artist? Why is it only this artist? You should have the authority and the power over that, because you're the listener, you're the consumer. So why wouldn't you want that authority and power? You have it. You just had to know there's a system there. It's been rigged. It was hijacked by woke, DEI, incompetent people who are all about the money. Money and brainwashing your children. Your children are listening to a lot of trash, cocaine, and all kinds of sexual innuendos and all kinds of things that they don't need to hear yet. They don't need that, if they ever need it. but they don't need it, especially at some of their ages. So here you are trying to train your children, and a lot of you claim to be Christians. Well, what's the Bible say? Train up a child in the way that he should go and he won't depart. Some of you are trying to train your children, but they're going over here to the parties behind your back, not knowing, and they're listening to all this stuff. So you're going against what? You're going against what these people don't care about. And you have the authority and the power if you'll listen to someone who's been there, done that, and saying, look, you have that power and control. Just like Kirk Cameron. Hey, look, he left. He got out. He and his sister said, look, you have that control. You don't have to watch this stuff. Just because it didn't come from this name or this company, this brand, you don't have to support it. A movie is a movie. If it's good, it's good. If music is good, it's good. Just because it don't come from a certain label, you're the one who keeps that there. You're the one who supports. Okay, if you like Nike or Reebok or Timberland or whoever, you still support that. You have that control because you're the consumer. So why do you let these people open your mouth and shove it down your throat and say you're going to take it? That's what you do when you support this stuff.